Hello, everyone. Tosca Reno here. It's a wild, stormy Thursday night, and it's been quite a chaotic week for me. Some of you have been following along, and you know that I've had in addition to the family, my daughter had her little grandson on Monday morning. So it's been, an emotionally charged week. And so I just wanted to check in with you this evening because obviously I've got things on my mind and it's Thursday and it's time to get together again because I missed you and I hope you missed me too. So here I am in my little office. The rain is raining, it's storming, and we've got a few minutes together. And I had a question for you. How do you know who to trust in this crazy world that's filled with wellness, fitness expert, diet experts? Who do you trust? And especially because this relates to your wellness, it's important to really find a figure or a mentor that you can trust. And it's all too easy to be seduced by the latest keto fad. I get a lot of questions about that, intermittent fasting, or, the latest, indie foodie guy shouting about how important it is to eat sauerkraut every day because of its yin qualities. Did you get any of what I just said? I don't know. But again, who do you trust for your wellness expertise? Well, I kind of did a little bit of research recently. I spent 3 months on the phone calling hundreds of you, my audience, the people who follow me, listen for whatever reason. And I spoke personally to you. And my own sort of anecdotal collection of evidence gives me some interesting information. And one of the questions I asked you is, why is it, or what's important to you about a wellness expert? Okay. And overwhelmingly, the answer was, you're overwhelmed. Well, that makes sense, right? Because there's an expert coming out of every corner. They all have something to say. They have a trend or a fad or you got to do it this way. And nothing against them, but how do you know who to trust in all that confusion? So my conclusion after doing those 100 and some phone calls in those 3 months was most of you are just plain confused and you want somebody with expert knowledge and experience to show you the way, almost like who's going to steer the boat in the right direction. So during this live, I'm going to share some tips with you. And those tips are going to be on how and who to get wellness from. Where is that expert? What you should be looking for in an expert. And maybe it's not who you think it is. And certainly I'm going to shock you a little bit by some of the comments I'm going to make. So here we are. It's Tosca Reno. I am the founder of the Eat Clean Diet and the New York Times bestselling author of all the series of books that were written related to eating clean. I'm so pleased to be here with you. I'm so blessed. And I have made it my life's work to help you find wellness and happiness again in the body that you possess. So we're going to love yourself. And I'm going to ask you a question. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the sheer number of, in air quotes, experts? Wondered who you could trust? I want you to just drop me a few comments in the comment section below. I love it when you tell me where you're listening from. I also love it when you send me little hearts, so I know that I'm not just yammering off into the darkness, into the ether. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to share some of the mistakes I have made in the past. So before I actually embarked on my wellness journey, and that was the period where I was overweight, I really had a lot of diet fails. It's because I did all the trendy, fatty things. Yeah, I did do the sauerkraut diet. I did the grapefruit diet. I counted calories. I starved myself. I, ate a ton of greens and gave myself a stomach ache. And I tell you, I had more fails and more failed diet results than any kind of positive results at all. In fact, all I did was get heavier. And this contributed to confusion, just like probably you're thinking of. None of it helped me. None of it helped me until I met an expert. And until I made the emotional connection with the pieces of information that I needed to know to make myself well, I had to believe in the expertise of this person, and I had to believe that I was capable of achieving it. And that's what really has to happen for you. You have to make an emotional connection. So are you curious to know more? Are you curious to figure out for yourself who you can follow, who you can trust. Let me know if you've been looking for the answers to these questions. Again, drop me some comments in the comment section below. I don't want to just be talking to myself. And if you do happen to catch the replay, because some of you I know do watch the replay, just go ahead and do the hashtag replay and where you're listening from, and share your story. Actually, I'd love to hear any funny stories you might have about some failed efforts with dieting. Oh, maybe they're not all that funny, but let's be serious. One time I did the stupid, eat sauerkraut, wrap yourself in this tingly cream, and then put saran wrap around your belly. Yeah, I did that. Crazy, right? All we really want is some expertise. Okay, so I met an expert who had lived his expertise first. That person, as some of you know, was Robert Kennedy. And it was a chance encounter, but meeting him taught me the difference between a wannabe expert, a so-called expert, and an actual expert. I could trust him because he was an icon in the bodybuilding industry. And in his day, what bodybuilders knew well, himself included, was how to shape and create a lean body using the eat clean principles. That was the only way they did it. Lifting and eating clean. There was no gimmick, no shouty capitals, no screaming, none of that. It made sense. So it was through Bob Kennedy that I learned firsthand how to eat clean. He taught me how to clean up my diet, and he then taught me how to shape a competitive physique. And that physique has stayed pretty much the same, give or take 5 pounds. I think I'm hibernating this winter. I got at least 5 pounds to get rid of, but mostly I stayed very close to my ideal weight because I learned the Eat Clean principles through him. I trusted him. I trusted his proven expertise in cleaning up my kitchen, shaping a physique, and it changed forever the relationship I have with food. And I know, because I've heard you say this to me in these phone calls and in these messages, and when I talk to you, I've heard you say how much you suffer because you don't know what to eat, because you don't know who to trust, because it all just feels like way too much. And I get that. So I think the piece for me that really switched my efforts, all my failed yo-yo dieting efforts, was making the emotional connection and knowing that the expert that I was relying on was actually somebody who had lived his expertise first. So Robert was an expert in eating clean. He was an expert in shaping lean, beautiful bodies. And because he was an expert, I trusted him because I could see that he was following those same rules for himself. When he challenged me to compete in my first ever bodybuilding contest, which, I mean, the idea of that was absolutely preposterous. If you can imagine, a 204-pound fat lady like me. But at age 42, because I trusted his expertise, I did just that and placed. So I learned how to do the eating clean. I did it. So have you ever followed, here's a question. Have you ever followed an expert that led you down a path and you thought, oh my God, I believe you so much. I know because of what you say, Mr. Expert, that I'm going to get it this time. I'm going to drop that stubborn weight and be lean once and for all. And then you got zero. You got nothing. You got nada, bupkis. Yeah, I can relate. That happened to me too. But here's the big idea. Here's the piece that will take it from your head and into action. You can't take wellness advice from sick people. You can't take training advice from armchair critics. You can't take nutrition advice from pseudo nutritionists, and you can't even take nutrition advice from doctors. Now that's the shocking. I just shocked you, I hope. And why that's true is because doctors only get a few hours of nutrition training during their medical education. A naturopathic doctor gets 5 years of it and they never stop. So you have to know and be discerning about the expert you're going to work with, and they truly have to be an expert. When a doctor says to you, you can have pizza and Coke after beating cancer, don't trust him. And I have heard that. I'm not even making that up. So how do you know if the latest and greatest fitness personality who's shouting from the rooftops to eat this way, to get that way, eat this, not that, how do you know if he's any good? You don't. You don't know, and you never know unless they're willing to be public with their story. So here's something that happened to me. I was once speaking at a conference, and this will blow your mind because it actually shocked the heck out of me. I was in the lineup of wellness speakers, and I was speaking at this conference, and the person before me went up and talked about living a clean, healthy life and quitting smoking, and you had to quit all these bad habits. Well, didn't I see him backstage outside having a cigarette? Excuse me, you just were up there as an expert saying you shouldn't be smoking. And so this happened to me too, also with a personal trainer in my past who insisted that quinoa is a grain. Well, it's not. Quinoa is a seed. It comes from the flower of a certain plant. It just thinks it's a grain and it behaves like a grain. Trust me, it's a seed. There's no gluten in it at all. So you see how confusing things get. Are you confused? Have you ever been confused? Share your confusion down below because listen, there's plenty of it out there. Okay, but this is where I step in. And this is where I'm going to offer you a little bit of brevity and sense, common sense, let's go with. Look, I learned about the eat clean way of life through Robert. I did it. I practiced it. I'm still doing it. He's not even around anymore to keep an eye on me. I'm still doing it because the habits and the practices just make so much sense to me. And so I am exactly who I say I am. When I say to you that I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner, I've done my studies and I've got my credentials, I am. And when I say to you that I eat clean and I exercise every day and I practice my emotional self-care, I do. I really do. I absolutely do. And I'm an expert on wellness. And because I have come through my own illnesses and unwell period of my life, that makes me an expert too, because I have the experience of living in an unhealthy body and then healing myself. So I know that I can shape a healthier, happier you through the Eat Clean principles. There's no gimmicks, not at all. So first we're going to work on ourselves, and I did it on myself, and then we work on you. So that's why I think a retreat like the one I hold in Costa Rica is just absolutely so valuable, because you're standing right next to me. I mean, I'm sitting in this chair and you'd be in the one right beside me, and we're in the kitchen and we're learning about food, and we're learning about the way food affects the body, whether positive or negative. And we're learning how to shape our bodies using the ones we've got, using our metabolic powers, alchemizing ourselves so we can turn into fat burning machines just through these principles. And I've practiced them. I know they don't fail. And you will get it in spades when you come to Costa Rica. It's like 5 days of seeding yourself with the best lifestyle experiences possible, and they're going to last you a lifetime. So you spend 5 days with me in Costa Rica. You change your life, you change yourself. Sounds like a plan, right? So in summary, you now know you don't get wellness advice from the butcher or someone who hasn't done the hard work themselves. You don't get any kind of advice from someone who's a pretender. You've got to make the emotional connection. When you make the emotional connection with your goals for your wellness and you cement it into your brain, that's when things happen. And you need to work with experts who understand the process and what it takes to get there. And if you don't have time to waste, we don't have time. We can always make more money, but we can't make more time. So this will be a time in your life where you can make a decision to opt for yourself. And when you're enjoying, in a few years' time, massive fun, abundance, and wellness because you spent the time in Costa Rica with me, you'll thank yourself for making the best decision of your life. I just want to share, there's still some room, although I'm so happy we're almost at capacity at the retreat. And I want to share, there's a couple of rooms for you. I might have to go sleep out on the terrace, but that's okay. It's warm in Costa Rica. But I want you to be there. I want you to occupy that space, and I want to immerse you in the expertise that I have gained, the expertise that you can trust from me for the past 20 years. And I know how to deliver this to you in a way that it will sink into you and it will inspire you to make personal changes for yourself. So it's a call to action. I'm really going to ask you to dig in and ask your heart, can you trust this expert? And can you trust that in that 5 days in Costa Rica, you'll make a powerful change for yourself? Because honestly, My goal for you and my goal for myself every day is to serve to my highest and best so that you and I both can experience the abundance this world has to offer. So hit those buttons down below. Send your comments. Send me a private message. I have actually, and I will do this, if you send me a message down below that you're interested in coming, I will get the message, and I'd love to set up a call so we can chat, which is what I've done with several of the guests who are going to be there. Already booked, already going. The next one could be you. We'll set up a call. We'll talk about it. We'll make this a possibility for you. All right. So have a wonderful evening. Thanks for sharing some time with me. God bless. I think of you often. I think of ways to make you well. I've got some trusted and proven programs to help you. All the best.